Well, good morning everybody, and welcome to the Sabi Sands. What a beautiful sunrise it is here this morning, and I hope you enjoyed those shots of the sun just peeking out over the clouds to the east of us. We've decided to stop here for two reasons. Firstly, as you can see, it's a beautiful sunrise, and secondly, they've been lion calling, not very close by, so by sitting here we can try and pinpoint more accurately where they are. So we did hear them roaring once since we've been waiting here. We've been here about 10 minutes. They sound quite far away, but we are going to head into that general area and see if we can find them and get lucky. Brent, there's just an elephant that I heard trumpeting behind me there. So there's lots going on, lots of audio this morning and lots of good prospects. So Brent and I have split up as normal and are trying to work different areas in the hope of finding something interesting. For those of you that are joining for the first time, welcome on board, and just to let you know, it's an interactive live safari, so at any stage you can ask myself or Brent, the other presenter, questions, and to do that you would hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or send an email through to questions@WildEarthTV. So, without any more delays, I think we should continue forward and head into the area where we think the lion could be. It's a difficult thing to pinpoint audio of animals and where they may be calling from for various reasons, depending simply on the direction they're facing when they call. That will obviously affect the volume or the way you hear it, whether they're facing you or facing away from you. So that's just one thing immediately that makes it a little bit tricky. And then the environment in which you are in when you hear the audio also makes it different. The camp that we stay in every night is quite built up, and all that infrastructure does make it also difficult to know exactly where audio may be coming from. But the good news is that there were lions roaring, and what a way to wake up in the morning, and great prospects to head off in that direction and see what we can find. Interestingly enough, Craig, one of the other game drive vehicles, or one of the other guides rather, managed to locate Quarantine, the young male leopard last night, Kunyuma's brother. So for those of you who were following yesterday's drive, we did see a young male leopard, and that young male leopard is a brother of Quarantine. So it was great that he was seen, and Brent is in that area where he was last seen. Now I'm just trying to reverse to get into position to show you an incredibly beautiful bird. And with the morning sunlight, we should get some great views of it. Is that going to work for you, Brian? This eagle is called a brown snake eagle, and I don't think I've personally been able to show you one, or certainly not a view like this. And as its name suggests, it does spend a lot of time hunting snakes. They make up a large part of their diet. But they don't rely entirely on snakes as their prey. It would be very difficult for any predator to specialize on one specific prey item. Look at those bright yellow eyes, very characteristic of the brown snake eagle, as well as the bulbous head. Hard to think that a bird like this does decide or enjoy feeding on snakes predominantly when they can. Oh, there he goes, off on a snake hunt, because there are a lot of highly venomous snakes in this area, so impressive to think that it can take on a lot of them. Sorry, Brent, go again with the message. So they're heading south on Zoe's. Or south. Okay, copy. So this morning I'm on camera with Brian, and Brent and Andrew are out together with Alex in the final control. Which update now? Okay, copy, thank you. Copy, were those the ones that trumpeted? Yeah, I copied that. Thank you, Alex and Brent. Okay, apologies, but radio gets quite busy early on the drive. A lot of people coming out and choosing which routes to take. And Brent is following up on the elephant audio we heard as we started up earlier this morning. So he's going to try and track them down. He said he was close to them when they did trumpet. And it sounds like the lion that we heard calling have been located off our property, which is kind of what we imagined, judging from the audio we heard. Now, I think it might be worth popping into the hyena den sites. It was last seen active probably Thursday last week. And we haven't seen it active since, so it'd be nice to know whether they are still here and our timing's just been off, or whether they have moved to another den site. Linda in California, good morning. and welcome on board. Linda is asking what the difference is between an eagle and a hawk. Now, you get a lot of birds of prey, or raptors, which include various eagles, hawks, kites, goshawks, sparrowhawks. Who am I missing? Falcons. So those are all birds of prey, but they vary slightly between one another and then fit into these separate families. So hawks will have certain characteristics that eagles won't have. For example, eagles typically always have fully feathered legs, whereas the brown snake eagle that we've just seen is an exception to the rule. It doesn't have feathered legs, yet it is still an eagle. So hawks typically will not have feathered legs as one difference to eagles. And again, it's all very slight differences that they have, but are all birds of prey and are all also known as raptors. So, good question, and like I say, there's many different names for the different birds of prey. It just depends on very slight anatomy differences in their anatomy that get them to have their specific names. Well, I'll just stop here to show you the little burrows that are empty, and when I was driving in I didn't see any fresh hyena tracks leading back towards this den site, so it could well be that it is inactive now. And it's not uncommon for hyena to move their den sites every couple of weeks. You can imagine the amounts of parasites that build up in a den site, and by leaving for a couple of weeks, Mother Nature comes in and does some natural housekeeping, and then they can move in a few weeks later once another den site has become full of parasites. Diane in Michigan, good morning and welcome along with us this morning. Diane is asking whether the brown snake eagle, the eagle we saw a little bit earlier, will kill the snake before it consumes it. And in my experiences, yes, they will attempt to kill the snake, but often an animal that is dead still has nerves, and therefore an animal like a snake can continue to slither and have some kind of control of its body movements. Well, not control, but its body will still move. Once I came around a corner on game drive here in the Sabi Sands a few years ago and saw a brown snake eagle with about 15 centimeters, about 6 inches of a snake remaining, and they swallowed them head first, so it was just the last little bit of the tail sticking out. And what was really interesting is that the snake managed to, you're gonna have to imagine I'm a bird now, the snake had, the snake's tail came out of the bird's beak, but on the kind of left-hand side of its mouth, wrapped all the way around the bird's head, and then curled the other piece of the tail underneath the bird's beak, essentially creating a lock. Therefore, the bird probably had about 18 inches, 45 centimeters of snake in its stomach, but the last 6 inches, it just couldn't get in because the snake had kind of tied itself around the bird's head. So it was really interesting to see the snake eagle shaking itself around, and eventually it managed to unhook that little piece of tail that was putting up a fight and preventing the final piece to be swallowed. So they do sometimes come up against some tricky situations like that, but typically they will bite the snake on the head and or whip the snake. A lot of the birds will use a whipping motion, hold the animal in their beak and whip them against logs to kill them, essentially. So there's various ways of them doing it, but I guess a lot depends on the size of the snake. Some snakes are very long and thin, and others are quite short and fat, so depending on the snake they'll probably use slightly different methods to dispatch them. Now, you'll notice I'm looking down onto the road quite a lot. It's so important for us to check the road for any tracks or signs of animals, because if we don't, we will miss a lot of important clues that can help lead us to exciting things, especially in the morning, more so than the evening, because a lot of the predators do the majority of their moving in the evening and less during the middle of the day, especially at this time of the year. We are now heading into the area where we left Djuma yesterday. Djuma is a young male leopard, and we're going to follow up on him. Brent's managed to find some tracks of the quarantine male leopard, the leopard we're looking for, his brother. Not far from here, but heading in the opposite direction to where we're going. So Brent's busy following up there. I don't think we're going to get lucky there, Brian. They're gone. There was 2 crested barbets, really pretty birds, but they flew off, as the birds often do. And a lot of the little animals can be a little bit camera shy. there's some hyena tracks setting down this road, and it's a track we see more often than any other tracks really. Hyena cover huge distances every night looking for potential food to either scavenge and occasionally in this area hunt for themselves. But it is a track we see more than any other. They've got incredible stamina and endurance, hyena, and that is how they do use, well, it is one of their attributes that they use greatly when hunting. They'll often run prey down to the ground. So, less stealthy, certainly, than lion and leopard, for example. Just a male impala that you can see in the shot there, and I was looking back fairly intently. I was just wondering what it is exactly that got its attention, because an impala certainly has better ability to sense a leopard than myself or Brian do, so it's important to use those skills of the prey animals to help us in finding the predators. Sorry, Alex, go ahead with that question. I'm just going to jump out here and check around for tracks quickly, because this is a junction where I expect to find some potential tracks of Djuma from last night. So this might be a good opportunity to cut across to Brent and see what he's been up to for the last 20 minutes or so. So a good opportunity for him to also say good morning. He hasn't said good morning to any of you yet. So we will, although now he's just said he's about to get off his vehicle. Yeah, well, I need to get off my vehicle, Brent's off his, so Brian can pan around and show you whatever he feels best, because I'm not going to just sit here and go around in circles. So we'll chat with you a little bit later, but Brent's also off his vehicle looking for tracks, and when he's back on it, then he'll come across and say good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome on Drive with us this morning. I've got Andrew on camera with me, and as I'm sure Scott said, it's Scott and Brian on the other vehicle, and Alex is in FC. Well, we're busy tracking a male leopard at the moment. We found really fresh tracks. We also bypassed a breeding herd of elephant while we were tracking the leopard. So what we'll do is we'll keep on the leopard for a while. Hopefully we can find him. If not, we'll make our way towards the elephant. Well, welcome on Drive. Hopefully it's an exciting one and we can keep our streak going. those tracks that Andrew and I found this morning were extremely fresh. The major problem is that there was a big herd of elephant around where the tracks were, so it made they've walked over a lot of the tracks and stuff, so we're busy sort of figuring out the puzzle at the moment. You can see, wonderful sunny morning here this morning. Temperature is actually very nice at the moment, but I am quite sure it's going to turn into a bit of a stinker. So we found the tracks on Zoe's Road. We've just checked rear tele access to make sure they haven't crossed. So now we've got an area we
Welcome back, and we have just come across some tracks of Djuma. It's not far from where we left him last night, and sadly they are heading towards the boundary, but you know what, we're just going to make sure that he does cross out, because he could even have made a kill, even though he's very close to a boundary, or two of our boundaries, our western and southern boundary. He could well have made a kill not far from here, for even though the tracks are from last night, he may not necessarily be far away. So even though he didn't come out on this road junction where I got out to check earlier, he could have taken a shortcut, as they often do, and therefore his tracks could, and I presume will, pop out somewhere on this road where we are now. Can see hyena tracks, but can't see his yet. That doesn't mean he hasn't come yet. Here are some other leopard tracks. Not easy to see, but Brian should be able to get the camera onto them. And these are his tracks, and he's headed down the road out of our property, sadly. So he went up and down here a little bit, sniffing similar pathways to get from A to B, and easier for us to find them once you do get to know them to that level. And by tracking them, not necessarily seeing them, by simply tracking them, you do get to learn those traits. So that's why tracking is so valuable. Even if you don't find the animal, you learn about what the animal may be likely to do in the future. Oh, it's a beautiful morning, and so good to be out. As you can see, it's got its hood flared up and making itself look making itself look as mean as possible. And we really like to us all.
Morning guys, sorry we just had a bit of a cheeky female here. Problem is there's a must bull with this breeding herd, so they're tending to be a little bit aggressive. Just going to reverse a little bit further from them. The bull's actually really nice, he's got a nice set of tusks on him. Let's see if we can go back a little bit. Let's see if we can get a shot of the bull there. There we go. Nice big adult bull. Sorry about the angle there, Andrew. Okay. So there's actually the smell of the must and the elephant bull is literally permeating through the air. It's quite possible that there's a female in estrus or about to come in estrus in the herd, and that's why he's following her. But it's a very difficult smell to describe. Andrew thinks it smells like horses. I'm not so sure. It smells like a must bull to me. And when you do smell that smell, it's always wise to err on the side of caution, because their hormones are racing quite a lot, and also when they're in must, they tend to harass the breeding herds. So sometimes it causes the females to be quite upset as well. Here we go, here he comes. Hello big boy. Please stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Good boy. So that dust and everything is just a display of how big and strong he is. See, if we had to move the vehicle right then, he might have got aggressive and we caused him to chase it. Hopefully he doesn't throw the dust on us. But it has happened before where elephants have done that to me. But he's just basically, all he's doing now is just displaying how big and strong he is, and that we mustn't push him too far. I'm far more worried about the female just to the right of him than I am about him. Oh, that's incredible. We're getting our morning dust bath.
Cool.
Yep, we're getting covered in dust. The wind is blowing it straight to us. See, I'm far more worried. There's two females just to the right of him that are, for me, far more likely to do something a bit silly. So that's why I've got my car ready to start in case I have to. But as again, I don't want to start because that could cause them to chase us. Also, we don't want to raise our voice or make any sudden movements or funny noises because that might set them off. That's why we're keeping still, and I'm keeping my voice very steady and calm. Oh my goodness, that could also be the reason for the aggression. If you go to this elephant cow here to the right, she's got a huge wound between her back legs. That could also be the reason why this herd isn't very relaxed. Very difficult to say what that's from. At the moment I'm concentrating on the elephants in front of me. I will try have a look at that a little bit later. Sure, that's very bad. Now he uses his foot to loosen the dust and then his trunk to pick it up. He's not actually sucking the dust into his trunk as such, as sort of scooping it and keeping it in that little hook or little cranny and then spraying the dust onto himself. And this helps for cooling. There we go. But a very nice big adult bull. Probably in his 40s. Stop it. See, now what happens is a lot of people make a mistake when an elephant does that. They'll start the car and speed off, and all you're going to do there is make the elephants chase you and actually teach elephants to chase you. Kruger National Park has lots of young bulls who chase cars because people have taught them how to chase cars. Okay, that female with the wound is coming back, so I'm just going to keep a close eye on her. She could be, because of that injury, a lot more aggressive. So they're still quite close to us, so what we're going to do is we're just going to sit quietly. I think once the elephants move away from us, we're going to move away from them. Because the bush is quite thick here, it was difficult to... we could smell there was a musk bull, but with that female with the injury, it does make this sighting a little bit more precarious. And they're still close enough now that if I started the car, they might chase us, so I'm just going to keep still for now. You can see the bull's relaxed down quite a lot, and the cows have moved off a little bit to the right, and they've also relaxed. Also, there's quite a strong gusting wind, and that's in our favor. Oh, look, that one cow's got very floppy ears, and she's the one with the wound is just to the left of her. Okay guys, they've given me some space. I'm just going to move away from them now. We've got a musk bull and we've got a female that's got an injury. So if we did stay too long in this area, it would sort of be the same as asking for trouble. So we're just going to start the car, and you'll notice when I start the car in this situation, I'm going to let the engine run for a good 10 seconds, just so that animals can get used to the noise and they don't get a surprise, and we don't sort of start the car and start making a lot of noise. Seriously, Mafufunyan. There's one Mafazi who's got a big cut the whole way through between her legs, and it's quite raw, so we're being stopped right here now. So yeah, I was gonna call you now, but the elephants are right next to me. But yeah, she's just there. and then the bull's also in must. I can't see it. Maybe a tusk, but I mean it's huge. It's like probably almost a meter long and right between her legs. Maybe from a bad birth or breached birth or something. I'm not sure. But I'm not gonna go too much closer after them after our little experience now.
All on camera?
Yep.
Which one are you driving Holy to here?
No. I'm not in the Holy T.
Not in the Holy.
Yeah. I'm in the one that hasn't attracted any elephants yet. Okay, well enjoy guys.
Broken in.
Yeah. There were some more elephants heading down towards Rebecca's. If you take Rebecca's, they came off zones down there. Here's my house. The sun is bright. I don't think it's underneath my camera. I'll grab it now. Sorry guys, back with you now. If you have any questions, please send them on Twitter, #SafariLive, or via email, questions@WildEarthTV. It was a really nice sighting. I'm a bit sad to see that injury on the female, but that is what it is. It is nature. But because of those situations, we're not going to stay with these elephants. What we're going to try to do is possibly go look around where we lost those those leopard tracks because of all the elephants. They walked over the leopard tracks and start looking for that male leopard. Sorry Alex, I missed your last thing there. Go again. Good morning, Eileen from Canada. Eileen would like to know why the females would be more likely to attack than the bulls. Because they do have young, and they are generally just a little bit more aggressive, and that's due to having to protect young and things like that. Whereas the bulls are really, when you're an adult bull, there's very little in the world that can actually do you any harm. And most of the bulls will just display, shake their heads, do a bit of dust spraying like that guy did. Whereas the females tend to commit more when they do become aggressive. It's difficult, and I mean you can never say, oh, it's only the females, but sometimes the bulls can also be more aggressive. But in that situation, it was just reading the different animals. The bull, even though he came much closer to us and was shaking his ears and throwing dust in the air, his general body language did not come across as something that was going to sort of take the next step up. Whether both those females, the way they were moving their heads, I know you couldn't see that, it was slightly off camera, the way they were moving their heads, their body language indicated to me that they could possibly become far more aggressive. And elephants and most animals, if you do read their body language correctly, they will let you know what type of mood they're in before you get too close. So in that situation, we just sort of drove down the road and the elephants were right next to us, so it didn't give us that opportunity to assess the situation from distance. And that's where knowing how to read animal body language is so important. So if we had started the car, revved the car, made a lot of noise and drove off fast, then they all would have chased us. So it is very important to know your the animal's body language. The same as if you had to read a person. You can tell when someone's upset. Hope that helps, Eileen. Scott coming. What area are you working? I confirm Rebecca's ace. Okay, thanks. I've checked WildEarthTV access. There's no tracks of that no leopard coming out there. So I'm going to check carefully now that illies have moved off a bit and see if I can find where the tracks go off the road. Did you hear that update from Mike Grover from last night? He was out on a bumble with his family and left on quarantine on Zoe's. So possibly I think this could be his tracks. Excuse me for a second, guys. I just want to check something here. Well, no luck, no tracks, just double checking that he didn't go down one of these big paths. Earpiece. So back to those elephants, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions about the injury that female had. Unfortunately, I was concentrating on about 4 different elephants at that time, so I only managed to just sort of glimpse at it from time to time, and it's going to be very difficult to guess what actually caused that injury. But it almost does look like a bad birth or a breech birth. What I will do is I'll have a look at the footage, which when we get back this morning, where we can slow it down and freeze it, and can have a proper look at that injury, and maybe that'll can shed some more light on it. But yeah, I'm not sure what caused that injury at the moment. But it was a very big wound in a very bad place for an elephant. Sorry, go again. I'm not copying you. Did you get that? Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. I'll double check when I get home. I think it's the best for that. I'm not going to try guess. Okay, so I think those leopard tracks have cut into this block between Vuyatela Access and Zoe's Road. So we're going to head back up for your tailor access, maybe check Sandy Patch, maybe that he went a bit further west. Go ahead, Alex. Jane on Twitter is wondering, could it be a prolapsed uterus? I'm not 100% sure what a prolapsed uterus is, but possibly. I also thought it might be something to do with a difficult birth, but as I said, okay, there we go. Alex is explaining me for when the uterus turns inside out. It could very possibly be that, but as I said, until I have a proper look at some pictures of the footage, when I get back, I'm not going to try guess. Good morning, Claire from New York. Welcome on Drive with us this morning. Claire would like to know, with an elephant with an injury that severe, can survive the infection? That is a very interesting question. It could possibly, it could not possibly. It depends on what type of infection it is and how severe it is. I mean, all infections are incredibly dangerous to animals in the wild. In the brief looks I got at it, it didn't look infected, but it could have been where we couldn't see. But as I said, yeah, a lot of major wounds will lead to infection, will lead to loss of life through loss of condition. But quite often there's a lot of miracles that happen, and a wound you see on an animal that you think, well, it's never ever going to survive, and they make 100% recovery. So the only real way to know for sure is to sort of every time you see that animal to just keep checking on the progress of the injury. I guess the last tracks we had was on a corner, probably about parallel to us here. We'll just check very slowly here, because if you cross straight across the road, not walk down it, it's much more difficult to find the tracks. Tell you what, these leopards are really trying to confuse me today. Okay guys, Scotty's found something interesting. I'm going to try to figure out which way the tracks are going. So while I'm doing that, let's cross over to Scott.
Welcome back. Oh, that's frustrating. There was an African harrier hawk, bird of prey, that specializes in stealing baby birds from nests. And there was one in a marula tree not far from us, hopping about, looking obviously for a nest cavity in which it would put its legs and try and pull out some babies. But sadly, it just flew off as you came across to us. So we tried, but sadly, as the birds often do, they fly off. Anyway, we'll continue. We haven't had anything of major excitement since the Mozambican spitting cobra, that cute little snake, and I hope you managed to get a decent glimpse of it. It was during a tricky signal or broadcasting patch that we were going through. And since then, myself and Brian went to check out warthog's den site, a burrow that they live in an old termite mound, where Brent and I were out one morning and we managed to see the warthog wake up and run out of its burrow. So we went back there and there was no sign of any warthog. Potentially they got up a little bit earlier than this morning than they did the last time we managed to see them. And now we are on our eastern boundary, Cheetah Cut Line, heading up towards Buffelshoek Dam. It doesn't sound like there's been many vehicles up in this northeastern corner of the property this morning. So we're hoping to find some new information or something exciting that people are unaware of because nobody's been there yet. So that's our plan. And very happy to hear you've had a great elephant sighting with Brent. It sounds like it really was a good one. And well done to Brent for tracking them down and finding them. We did have some male leopard tracks heading down this road. They did veer off, I'm not sure in which direction, but good prospects that there was a male leopard heading in the same direction that we're heading in. So go ahead, sir. Could you go again with the location a couple of times and what country it's in, and then the species, please? And whereabout is that country? Okay, copy, thanks. Well, Alex has just got a very interesting piece of information that I think is important to share with all of you. Excuse me. And that is that in an Asian country called Myanmar, there's a bird called the Jordan's babbler that everybody thought was extinct. It hadn't been seen for 73 years, since 1941. And there's just been a recent sighting. So just as we discussed last night, there are animals or that have become extinct, and we wish that rather than them being extinct, that at least they could be kept in captivity so that people could see them. And that was at the fireside chat last night. So it's something that we did speak about quite recently, and now today we found out that an animal that we thought was extinct for 73 years has now popped back up. So that's great news from a little Asian country called Myanmar, and I didn't even know that country existed, to be honest. So you learn something new every day, and on top of learning something new every day, we have got lucky because there are some lion tracks on this road heading from right to left into our property. So everything on the right is a no-go zone for us, but everything on the left is a go zone. So I'm just going to have a closer look and establish what's going on here. It could well be the two young lionesses from the Kuhuma pride that have been lost, trying to relocate the rest of their pride. So I'm just going to have a quick look and try and double check. And you should be able to see some of the lion tracks clearly that Brian's showing you, so I hope you're enjoying those pictures. tracks appear to be from very early last night. There's a lot of antlions, which are a small insect that make conical funnels that will trap prey that fall into them and they can't get out. The sand always avalanches back in, so when something falls into these cones created by the antlion, they can't escape. And the antlions, which operates nocturnally, have created these little cones within the lion's tracks, which indicates to us that they've had some time to do so. So the lions probably moved through early last night, but we will still head down this road and see where it takes us. So every now and then I'll just check that the lion are still heading down the road, which they are for now. To follow each individual footstep would be quite time consuming and tedious, so you've just got to assume they're going to stick to the road, and then at road junctions try and establish where they may have veered off. Still going. So this will be the first fork in the road where the lion will have an option of going right or left. And it appears they've gone kind of straight. We spend thing. I'll just jump out and keep checking for these tracks while you show everybody these interesting clouds that are forming to the east. trucks are still heading down this road over here, so we will continue to follow them. Like I said a bit earlier, they don't seem very fresh from early last night, but certainly worth following. Also, in this windy weather, tracks also look a lot older than they necessarily are, because all the granules of sand will be blown out of place and the track becomes less clear. Sorry, go again. Copy. There's been so much interesting line behavior going on at the moment that it really is going to be interesting to see what happens with some of the prides. There seems to be a lot of splitting and a lot of abnormally high amounts of movement between mainly the Kuhuma pride, but there'll be reasons for that, and none of us are sure what it could be, but it does make for some interesting potential viewing going forward. Don't appear to continue here. There was another slight fork in the road that they could have taken behind us. Yeah. What do you think you've seen there, Brian?
I saw something that looked like a cat standing.
Okay, that's good news. I hope you're right.
There's that log. See
The log.
the tricky log.
It really is interesting though, when you're searching for something or a certain animal, it's easy for strange objects to get your attention, and there's a little log back there that kind of resembled the back of a potential animal, a lion I guess in Brian's mind.
Yeah.
And it happens to all of us out here. Brent, there's some lion tracks that head from central south on Drakensberg, but they don't look very fresh, but I'm still following them. It's a mixture, it's hard to say. I think it's a couple of lioness. Looks like two animals, potentially those two youngsters, but I'm not sure. Sorry, what's that? Just the last part? We go again. you could relay, please, Alex. Okay, copy. Thanks. Okay, well, we came along this road earlier, so I've exhausted all of the resources we can in terms of trying to find those lion, and we will now continue from where we left off. So we are going to be driving one of the same roads that we drove earlier, but that's fine because animals move and things change, and it's very interesting that I say that because even though we drove this road, there's tracks on top of our vehicle tracks, and I'll tell you what they are now. I'm guessing it could be hyena, but we drove down this road just minutes ago, probably 15-20 minutes, and already now there are tracks of an animal walking on top of our vehicle tracks. So it just goes to show that even though we were here not long ago, animals move and things change. So let's establish what it is. Yep, 2 hyena walked down this road shortly after us. Pity we didn't see them. Go ahead. Can you relay that, please, Alex? Oh, good news. I am on Chidakatla now. I've left those tracks, I've driven other roads in that area. So just going to abandon ship there and continue on north towards Buffelshoek Dam. Copy, thank you. What's your position? Copy. Well, one day hopefully we'll see a cheetah on Chidakatla, because it was obviously given this name, this road, because cheetah must have been seen here fairly more frequently back when they were naming the roads. And it is an animal that we have yet to share with you since this production started in November last year. So sadly we haven't heard too much talk about cheetah in the general area over the last week or so, but they do come and go through this area, so hopefully within the coming months we'll be able to share a sighting of a cheetah with you. Oh, wonderful, a locust. Very brightly coloured little insect. It's similar to a grasshopper.
Oh, there.
Really brightly coloured little insects, those locusts, and there's obviously a little bit of a plague because I noticed a few more of them further up this road. Yeah, sounds good. Well, folks, let's cut across to Brent and see what he's been up to for the last little while. And we will catch up with you later, no doubt. Until then, enjoy whatever he has in store for you.
Welcome back, everyone. Unfortunately, we didn't have any luck finding any further of those leopard tracks, and there were a lot of elephant in the area, so it made walking quite difficult. And with this gusting wind, a lot of the elephants seem to be very, very unrelaxed today, so we just decided to give them their space and move out of the area. We're back at one of my favorite haunts, Buffelshoek Dam. Fortunately, not much happening except a few hippos. So we're probably not going to stay here for too long, and we'll try to see what else we can find. Very gusty, windy morning. It looks like the hippo population has dropped here as well. I might have moved off into another dam. There's probably only about 5 or 10 hippos. Whereas the last time we had it was probably 15 to 20. Okay, well, we'll leave the hippos to be hippopotamus wallowing in the dam, and we're gonna continue on and see what else we can find. do some flowers for the flower lovers out there. We're coming right to the end of wildflower season though. So those might look very similar to a flower you will get in your gardens. There's a wild foxglove. Quite a pretty flower. Just give me a second, sorry. Just going to pull it up in the book as well. Go foxglove. Hey. Go ahead. Go ahead, Scott.
He was talking to the lion tracks gone east from Quarry and then cut out.
Oh, that's why. I'm sorry, guys. Just give me a second. I have a communication issue. Let's see if I can fix it quickly. Alex, you know, I'm not going to be able to hear you.
You can use mine.
Oh, there we go. Thank you very much. Andrew to the rescue. I'll try to fix that when I get home. Radio check.
Have you got it?
Okay, cool. I'm getting you 5 out of 5. Sorry, could you go with that update from Scott again? Copy. Would you like me to update the vehicles? Okay, copy, thanks. I will update the other vehicles. Alright, so guys, so there's a wild foxglove. Also crushed up and used for medicinally for respiratory problems, asthma. But a nice pretty flower, and we're not going to see too many wildflowers as it gets drier. So we should probably try to take advantage of the wildflowers while they're still here. Aubrey or yours coming?
You're standing by?
Morning, yours, Brent here. I think Scott's got the same tracks that you and Aubrey might have been following of the Djuma Pride. They have crossed east from Warrior Road Junction with Cheetah Cut Line into Torchwood.
Yeah, must be the 740. Thanks a lot, Brent.
Probably no problem. Good luck. Okay. So we just got to do this quickly as we go past. I don't know, for those of you who joined us on Drive last night, we looked at a specific bush willow tree. Zoom in on the seeds there, Andrew. So this is a question for you guys. See who was actually paying attention yesterday. Can you tell me which bush willow this is? And you can send your answers to questions@WildEarthTV, or on Twitter, just use the hashtag SafariLive. Just give you a little clue. Look at the color of those seeds. Remember the color of those seeds. Don't fly. Where did he go? It's in the back of this buffalo thorn. Let me try it. Let's see if we can get him to come up out. Oh no, I think he's gone. Oh, that's a pity. Very, very pretty bird. Just caught a glimpse of it. Give me the names you said, russet. Jeannie and Suzanne, well done, that's correct. It is a russet bush willow. Also Michelle and Marlene. Sure, this wind is keeping the animals' heads down. Oh, there we go. Don't fly, Andrew, on this dead knobthorn on the far right hand side. Oh, he's just gone into a hole. He should pop out again now. Hopefully he doesn't fly. It's a little crested barbet. There we go. Searching around in that dead bark for insects. They also are fruit eaters, but they do eat insects as well. It's quite possible they also really like to nest in these dead trees. Oh, scratch. You can see how much wind there is just watching his feathers flick around.
Back up from coffee, any updates?
Tracks of Nkahuma's cross east at Gwaripan Junction with Cheetah Cut Line.
Copy.
Okay guys, I just heard that Scott has got something, so we're gonna cross over to Scott and we will keep on trying to find something else, so enjoy whatever Scott might have on the other side of the other camera. Fluffy crested barbet.
welcome back, and we've just come across a herd of elephants. It's quite thick vegetation here, so I'm just going to try and find a way in so that we can have some glimpses of them. Initially we only saw one young male who was trailing quite far behind the rest of the herd, and he was a little bit nervous of us on his own. But I'm sure now that he has joined up with the rest of the herd, he will relax a little bit. And there look to be quite a few members in this herd, so I hope we can get a glimpse of them. It's a tricky area, this, but we'll maybe just stop and make the most of this little gap. They are highly mobile, and I think there's a road junction nearby that will be able to link us around to where they are going. So we'll just enjoy these views as they walk past. And I think what we can do is leave them here and then loop around onto Inyala Road. Which is a road that they're heading towards, and where we'll be able to view them a little bit better. And who knows where they're heading to? Maybe they are, after Inyala Road, will intend to head towards Vuyatela Dam. Anyway, we'll do our best to relocate them, but sadly this vegetation is just too thick to keep up with them, especially when they're moving at that speed. Okay, so this road is going to take us on quite a big diversion before we get onto the road that we need to get onto, but that's not a problem. At least we do have a road that is taking us eventually in the right direction that we need to go. My only concern is that the road that we do need to take, which is Inyala Road North, it's one of my favorite roads, but the problem is it's quite low lying, and therefore broadcasting from there can be tricky. But the least we can do is head over and try. And now Alex and you guys know that if we do a signal problem, that Brent will be on standby, ready to take over.
You can cut to me. Welcome back, guys. So Scotty's going through a bit of a bad signal patch, and we literally, as we crossed over, we happened upon this buffalo bull. I only see one at the moment, and strangely enough, after seeing lots of buffalo bull everywhere, this is the first one we've seen this morning. Hello, old man. Now I know a lot of those who were watching yesterday could see suddenly how fast a buffalo can run. Doesn't look like the most energetic beast, but when need be, he's got a very good turn of speed. Right on the edge of this big drainage system. So normally when we find them, they're all chewing the cud, ruminating. This one's actually feeding.
Do they go for the shorter grass? Or
No, buffalo are bulk grazers. They will eat both medium, long and short. They do prefer shorter grass though, like most grazers. Let's go forward a little bit. Always such a character in their faces. Well, he's going into quite a thick little patch there. Not going to be able to see him too well. So we're going to continue on and hopefully find maybe some more buffalo in not such a thick spot. We'll leave the old man be. This is definitely fast becoming one of my favorite roads. Hugs this drainage line and you just show how. So we're right on top of a sort of clay cliff, and there's a dry riverbed below us. So wonderful spot to look for things like leopards, and just a really pretty road to drive on. Okay guys, Scott's managed to get himself out of that bad signal area, so we're going to go back across to him and enjoy it.
Welcome back, and apologies for the break in signal earlier on, but we did see it coming. We've got lucky and have managed to relocate on the same herd of elephant that we got a brief glimpse of, and they are going to hopefully continue feeding towards us. They've actually moved quite quickly, and I'm surprised at how quickly they've moved to get here. Brian and I both thought we had missed them, but lo and behold, they are still here and should continue to feed on towards us and hopefully get a little bit closer as time goes on. We will also be able to try and reposition the vehicle a little bit later, but we've just arrived, stopped the vehicle, and are now establishing what to do next. I think I might drive ahead a little bit to try and establish where the rest of the herd was. There seemed to be about 15 members in the herd roughly. So a lot more than what we're seeing here. And I just want to make sure we know where the rest are, because they may be in a spot that is better for our viewing. Loop around onto another road, and that should provide us with the best angle and the best position to wait in. It's a beautiful antelope on our right that we can stop and have a look at. This is a beautiful big male Inyala. He's in his prime, and after the summer bounties he is really looking impressive. And in the coming weeks and months, we're going to hopefully be able to show you the Inyala bulls competing with one another for rights to females, and they've do a really interesting kind of walking dance, if you could call it that, where they erect the hair on their mane, down their back, and do this strange pronking walk in circles with one another. And that's how they try and establish who's biggest and strongest without coming to blows. But sometimes that ritualistic dance that they do is not enough to seal the deal regarding who's in charge, and they will then come to blows with one another. One elephant's just popped up and coming straight down towards us now. A shot like this makes you think about doing, when you are on a walking safari, how easy it is to oversee an animal as big as an elephant. And that's why you tend to try and avoid areas of thick vegetation, because even the largest of animals can be hidden by the thick bush here. And just judging by the sound, it does sound like the rest of the herd are slowly making their way towards us. It's the only kind of way to establish where the individual animals are in the herd. And they do sound like they are coming towards us. This one certainly is. And another one's just popped into the frame behind him. Just going to reposition ever so slightly. Bland, thanks for sending that through. Okay, so in between feeding, it's not uncommon to do a little bit of friendly wrestling. And I can see other members of the herd slowly getting towards us, and it is worth sticking around for here because there's a few small members in this herd, I believe, so look forward to seeing them, but they have drastically slowed down their speed relative to how quickly they were moving earlier. We're trying to reposition again because Brian's not having an easy job at the moment with the angles he's got. Look at the one trying to eat at the same time. So just some friendly argy-bargy between what looked to be two young bulls, and I guess practicing for more important fights in years to come. And there's a tiny little youngster that we're probably not going to be able to see that seems to be trying to join in on their fun. All I can see is the bushes really moving where it's running, but it seems to want to get involved with its older cousins. There it is, just to the right of them, behind them. And the rest of the herd are slowly but surely getting to us, and in a few more minutes I think we're going to have some great views. You can hear a Cape turtle dove calling in the background. And depending on the time zone or your preferences, it rings out either drink lager, or work harder. So it's up to you what you decide to remember the Cape turtle dove's call by, but those are two different ways of remembering. Look at how cute these youngsters are in this thick vegetation. They can hardly see where they're going and sometimes almost lift their trunk up as if it's a periscope. And the moment we've all been waiting for is upon us. They've come out into this clearing and are now hopefully going to slowly walk past the vehicle or shake their head at us, and disgusted appeared that one. Just going to reposition the vehicle now, knowing what's probably going to happen in terms of their movements. It'll make all of our lives a little bit better if I just preempt their movements. Okay, let's see this lady. Is she going to cause trouble with us? Or is she relaxed? Hello, lady. She walked up with quite a bit of intent, but has subsequently calmed down and, as you can see, feeding again. And we are no longer concerned by her behavior. It could have appeared that she was approaching aggressively also simply because she was taking a little bit of a run up to get up a small embankment. Hello. Well, she's still got something. She's not quite sure what she thinks of us yet, I think, but she's tolerating us for now. And possibly the matriarch. She was a big female and also was the first of the herd to confront us, so to speak. And you can hear a few of the youngsters playing around with one another back there. And the matriarch's running back to make sure everything's okay, which is quite interesting. Oh. You just relax, everyone. Very interesting behavior going on between a few different cows in this herd. And Brian's doing his best to try and show you as much of what's going on as possible. But the female on the right that walked past us earlier ran back towards the rest of the herd when she heard that audio and was confronted by another one of the cows, which turned her around sharply. So, interesting behavior. I can't really tell you exactly why they've done this, but oof. That was a crazy noise. It was another youngster that's probably got a bit scared and has been left behind, and here it comes. It's probably going to come running past our vehicle. Oh, there you are. And it's probably missing its mother. Hello, you. Okay, just relax. Hey, 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 hey. There's nothing to worry about here, anyone. Shame. Hey. Shame. I think that baby was just distanced from its mother and got really nervous. And it was, like I said, quite far away and in thick vegetation, and that's probably why it took its anger out on us. Brian's got a look of half horror, half happiness on his face, not knowing what to think. But we've got nothing to worry about. And wasn't that interesting behavior, seeing that little elephant having basically a little tantrum? And it did let off a loud scream, which was interesting. And I just want to try and get past these animals before the mother gives us any trouble. And keep our distance from them. You settle down, all of you. Relax.
I have to say, I've never heard a baby scream like that.
It wasn't the prettiest noise I've heard. And I think that's why we both have a look of kind of horror and happiness on our face at the same time. I'll just wait here for these elephants now. Give them a bit of space. They are a bit worked up, and we don't want to get caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. So we'll give them a little space, let that baby gather itself and calm down to a panic. Oh, no, it's a problem child, it appears. It's no wonder that mother left it in the bush for a few moments alone, for a bit of peace and quiet. But that little youngster came charging at us from a distance. Interesting. Very, very interesting behavior. Next is still in the back there, and is gonna. There we go. Hello, you. And is going to continue to provide us with a bit more action, it appears. It's run ahead of its mother now and seems to be planning its next charge towards us, although it's too soon to be sure. I'm not sure where the rest of the herd has gone. They may have split up. if the mother continues to feed towards us as she is, very slowly at the moment, but I'm guessing we will get another potential show from her calf as she comes past, so certainly worth waiting here for a few more minutes. Even though the view isn't great at the moment, if she does continue, she's going to pop into a clearing and her calf is going to follow along, and if its last little bit of behavior is anything to go by, it's going to certainly give us a little bit more attitude. So now Brian's showing you the kind of small opening that I'm hoping she's going to come towards, and that way provide us with some better views and also bring her highly strung calf along for the adventure. So go ahead. Got a question that's just come through from Joe in Canada. Good afternoon, or good morning, Joe, rather, and welcome on board. Joe is asking if I could expand a little bit about how elephants communicate with one another. And it's a good question, Joe, because they've got different ways of communicating. As you saw and heard earlier, that little calf came and trumpeted very loudly. So those loud trumpets are often calls of distress that are audible to the human ear and also obviously audible to the other elephants. There's also another low rumbling noise that we can hear, audible to humans and audible to elephants, which is typically more of a call of contentment, and it's usually a call when the elephants are relaxed and or happy. It's not a distress call like when they trumpet. And then interestingly enough, they can also communicate infrasonically, so through sound waves inaudible to the human ear, and they travel as vibrations through the earth and are picked up by the elephant's feet and then transferred as messages up into their brain. And they can communicate infrasonically over many, many miles. I think at least 20 miles to 30 miles is a very safe distance in terms of how far they can communicate with one another infrasonically. And interestingly, you can be in a sighting with elephants when you almost see them all stop and even lay their trunk down on the ground to help absorb those infrasonic frequencies, together with their feet that have got very fatty deposits in them that also help pick up these infrasonic frequencies. So that's something that us as humans only discovered very recently, that they can communicate infrasonically, and really interesting how they can. Whew, now that the sun has popped out from behind this cloud, it is cooking. And the rest of the herd seems to be following now, so we should get a few more visuals as one or two members pass through. I wonder if we shouldn't creep forward into the shade here while we wait. No. Because I think this mother, she's just moved through that small gap, and here comes a little temper tantrum. Let's see what happens. That small gap, and here comes a little temper tantrum. Let's see what happens. thinking about it. That's better. Just be a calm, friendly little elephant for now. Yeah, definitely. Stand by. Well, as wonderful as this sighting is, it seems like they've all calmed down, and I don't think we're going to miss out on any major action here. Importantly, Brent's an animal, much similar to these ones, but let's go across to him and see what he's been up to.
They've moved off a little bit. Welcome back, guys. We have accidentally bumped into that same herd we were with this morning with the big bull and that female that, from what Alex is telling me, what you guys have sent it on Twitter and stuff, does look like a prolapsed uterus. We sort of in a position where we can't really move. So we just, unfortunately, I wasn't planning to bump into them, and we actually quite a long way from where we saw them this morning. So they've actually moved, but we can see there's that big bull behind the bush there. But the rest of the herd are under a marula tree behind, but they're still stop it, stop it, hey, stop it, enough nonsense now. So as you can see, we're not going to stay with them. We are quite close to the hyena den. I just don't want to move and cause them to chase us. So we're going to try to move very slowly. Again, I'm starting the car and letting it run for a few seconds so they get used to the noise before I move. And let's just hope. Brian, if he does start following us or any of them, just tell me so I can stop so we don't cause him to chase us down the road. Okay. You can see with most encounters with elephants in the bush, slow and deliberate is always much better than fast and furious. Because if you think about the noises an elephant makes, those low rumbles and whatnot, and suddenly you rev a car, those rumbles could be, well, they are aggressive sounds to an animal. There we go, a little bit of excitement again this morning. I have warned the other vehicles that are driving around to be careful of that herd, just in case. I mean, we're probably about 2 kilometers from where we last saw them. So we weren't actually planning to bump into them again, but we can't always guess where the animals are going to go. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go have a quick look at the hyena den, see if there's any activity there. And then hopefully now that these elephants have moved out of the area where we had those leopard tracks, we can have another good look after checking the hyena den for that male leopard. But there have been a lot of elephants around this morning, all over the place. It was quite funny. Brian was saying when the cats disappear, we always see lots of elephants. Yesterday afternoon, well, this morning we haven't found any cats yet, but we found lots of ellies. And also the strong wind. A lot of animals, just hang on a sec, what was that? A lot of animals can be a little bit more nervous, including elephants. Nope, that's a a leopard-like stump. We see quite a few of those every day. But you've got to check them all, because one of those leopard-like stumps is going to turn into a leopard one day. So we are almost at the hyena den. I can't see if there's any there yet. Oh, it's not looking too promising. Just have a quick check around the back. Oh yeah. Ah, unfortunately not. For sure. No one at home. There we go, there's the main entrance to the den where we normally see the cubs, and I can't see any adults sleeping under the bushes or whatnot. So no one at home, so we're gonna continue on, see what we can find. We're gonna go move into that area where we had those leopard tracks this morning where all the elephants were. Now the elephants have moved out. Might be a little bit easier to track when you're not dodging breeding herds of elephants. Alex, come in. Confirmed it is Scott still with those other ellies. Copy, no problem. Scott, what area are you working at the moment? Copy. I just checked Rebecca Zoe's den site, it's not active. I'm going to go back now that the ellies have moved out of that area where I had those leopard tracks and see if I can figure out exactly where he was going. FM, Buffelshoek, Nyala North, Nyala South. Very, very quiet. Alex, can you relay for me, please? I can't hear him. So he must be in this block, but it is quite a big block of bush with no roads in it. So we're just hoping he might have, after the elephants have left, come back down onto the road. Otherwise we're going to be checking very, very carefully. The last tracks we had this morning were up ahead here on this corner. So I'm just going to quickly check whether those tracks continue straight on from here, from the corner, because I couldn't find any other tracks further down the road. There is an animal path that goes off here, so I'm just going to jump out and check it quickly. Unfortunately, no tracks there, so we're going to keep carrying on very slowly along this road, and maybe we get some luck and he pops out. quite difficult. It is quite warm now, even though the wind's still gusting around. It's probably warm enough for a male leopard to have settled down for the day. And this is a big, thick block. And I tried to climb a termite mound, a really tall termite mound, when I walked in on that little game path. See if I could. Well, firstly, leopards really like being around termite mounds, gives them a bit of elevation. Couldn't find any tracks on the termite mound, so I just climbed up to the top to see what I could see. And it is a very thick block. With no roads in it. Okay, so got no tracks up to Vuyatela access. Well, maybe he went northeast into the block. Just gonna check this little 2-track here. Oh, nearly lost my hat. Just hyena tracks. Confirm Helene or Eileen. Good morning, Helene. Welcome on Game Drive. Helene's just asked me to point out something very important that sometimes us who live out here take for granted and work out here, is that I might jump off out of the car and walk through the bush and look around for tracks and things. But if you're not experienced and you do not know what to do if an elephant, or if you come across an elephant or a lion or whatnot, it's not a very good idea for you to be walking around in the bush. So most people don't just jump out of the car and walk in the bush. Obviously, us, it's part of our job, and we've got a lot of experience and have dealt with walking into elephants and lions and leopards on foot before. So that's why we're able to, but it isn't. It's not something everyone can do. Guys, thanks for joining us this morning. It has been a little bit quiet, but still great. I mean, wonderful to see that big Ellie bull, and I'm very interested to get home and read up a bit more about prelapsed uteruses and that to try to figure out what's wrong with that elephant cow. Thanks for pointing me in the right direction, guys. It really makes life a lot easier when trying to figure out that type of stuff. And other than that, we're going to hand over to Scott for the last few minutes of drive. He's going to close off. So have a wonderful day, evening, wherever you are in the world, and hopefully we'll see you again this afternoon.
Welcome back, and just a few minutes left, so perfect time just to recap some of the highlights that Brian and I had this morning. And the first one was no doubt the little Mozambican spitting cobra that we came across. Sadly, we only got a brief view of it to share with you due to the signal breakdown and the fact that it was a highly venomous snake. Even though it was a baby, you may have noticed I did put on Brian's sunglasses to make sure it couldn't spit any venom into my eyes. But we've been talking about snakes a lot and hoping to show you a snake for a long time, and that was really a great view of one, especially with its hood flared up. So that was one of the highlights. And then secondly, the young elephant that was having a temper tantrum that came running past, trumpeting and screaming. That was a really interesting and fun sighting to see. So those are kind of our highlights, and no big cats this morning, and it's almost not a relief, but we've been having so much luck with the cats that it's almost quite nice to have a drive where other animals get a chance to star and not just the cats. So that's not to mean we're not interested in them, and we'll certainly continue searching for them this afternoon. Speaking of which, this afternoon we may have a bit of rain. Brian, what do you think in terms of a percentage of chance there being rain this afternoon?
Well, the clouds aren't looking good.
Yeah.
And with this wind, it might blow the clouds away, so we'll have to play it by ear.
Okay, but there is a chance of rain this afternoon or this evening, judging by all the clouds building basically all around us in all directions. So that is something to bear in mind for this afternoon's drive, which is not ideal for us, but for the vegetation in this environment it would be a welcome relief. It's very dry relative to how dry it should be at this time of the year, so any more rain we can get will be a huge blessing. And to all of the viewers who follow us regularly, and to all of the new time viewers, thanks very much for joining us on this morning's safari. It's provided us with some interesting sightings, as the safaris always do. We never know what to expect out here, and this morning did provide us with some great sightings that I hope you enjoyed sharing with us. So from Brian on camera, who always does a great job, and always fun working with you, Brian, so thank you. And to Alex in Final Control, thanks very much for all your work from there, and well done to Brent and Andrew on everything that they also contributed to the drive. And finally, from myself, a big thank you to you, the viewers, and we'll catch up with you this afternoon provided the weather allows for it. Until then, have a good day.